coming up.
Are you talking about taking those things out of curriculum to
Don't
create
teach
space?
them, yeah.
Okay.
Don't teach that. Teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. Don't allow the illegal aliens to overcrowd the classrooms so that the black kids don't feel pushed out.
So undocumented students are not, I don't view them as illegal aliens. I view them as individuals who've come to our country for a better opportunity.
Did they come through the front door or the back?
Did they come to the front door or the back? Well, for many of them, this is their land long before it was ours.
No, the ones that are coming, did they come through the front door or the back?
Well, their country did have this land long before we did.
Did they come through the front door or the back?
Actually, they came through San Diego.
Is that the back door?
I think that's the front door.
So when someone come in through the back door, is that breaking the law?
I think that people get to this country in many different ways.
No,
I think about our people, we were brought here on slave ships.
Not me. I was born here. Welcome to the Father State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Today I'm speaking with someone who believes the Black Lives Matter movement is important to higher education. I'm talking with Dr. Luke Wood, a social scientist and a professor of education at San Diego State University. In our country today, black men and boys are in crisis. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely.
And why are they in crisis today?
Well, we are in a society that is unfortunately underbedded by racism, and we are in educational institutions that, of course, are part of society.
Where is the proof that it's racism that's doing this?
Well, there's a lot of proof, and it's not only racism. Racism is one factor among a litany of other factors,
right.
but racism is certainly evident in the experiences of students. We have students who are viewed as being academically inferior. We have students who are viewed as being criminals and deviants by educators in the classroom, and oftentimes they view black boys very differently than they view, say, white boys or Latino boys. And so there's certain ways that racial dynamics play out that help us to see that there are racial differences, and those racial differences tell us that there is racism taking place.
And this is happening within the education system itself.
Well, it's happening in society, but it's also happening in education.
I
So,
see.
for example, with the class that I'm doing, it's called Black Minds Matter.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is raise the national consciousness about issues facing black boys and men in education. And what we're doing is we're identifying the fact that our educational system is not working. It has failed many of our students, particularly our students from the most disaffected communities. Right. And so what we want to do is to radically transform our educational system and for educators to see their classrooms as sites for civil resistance through teaching that empowers students.
And so let's say that within a classroom, at a university, within a classroom, you have white boys sitting there, you have black boys sitting there. Mm-hmm. And so are the white teachers looking at them and thinking or saying out loud, you're black, I know you're a criminal, you're too dumb to be here. Are they thinking that or saying that?
Okay, so some people will think that and even say that, but the vast majority of educators aren't bad people who want to go out and do horrible things. They're well-meaning, well-intentioned people who, unfortunately, because we live in a society that is influenced by our history, they engage them in different ways.
Really?
So, for example, let's say that you're a black male student. We hear this a lot in the research that we do. You're in the library, you're studying, and they come by and no one has asked for their ID, but they walk up to you and ask you for your ID, assuming that you may not be there because you're a student, maybe you're there to steal something, right?
From the library?
From the library. This happens a lot.
Not going to steal from the library. Everybody knows that. How do you know that that happens? That a black person can be sitting in a library and someone comes up and asks for ID that they're going to think is because you're stealing?
Because we do research on this. This is what I've committed my life to. So what I do in my work is I interview black males who are particularly in community colleges. I interview teachers and professors. I do survey work on college campuses, and what we try to do is to help people understand these issues so that they can then move past them. And what we see is that our campuses are rife with unconscious bias and what we call microaggressions, so kind of subtle ways that we communicate to one another that one group is lesser than another.
That's amazing. And so are the teachers doing the survey, the white teachers admitting, yes, I asked for an ID because he was black?
So
and I thought he was going to steal something?
So with our survey work, we primarily focus on students and have students are responding that these are the things that happen to them. But I will say that I've had many teachers as part of our training say, you know, this is something that I've done and, you know, I didn't mean to do it. I recognize that, you know, I've grown up thinking about them in certain ways and unfortunately these things play out. And it actually goes back to me to the whole title of your show, which is The Fallen State, right? I mean, what is this show about? I mean, what does fallen state mean, right?
So you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
Absolutely.
And what does it mean to be in a fallen state?
Let's go to the Bible, right? I'm a Christian, you're a Christian. Let's go back to the Bible. So in the very beginning, right, we see Adam and Eve in the garden, right?
Right.
And we see them in perfect harmony with God, with nature, and with one another. And the snake says to Eve, you will be like God, right? It's this notion of wanting to be better. Then we go, next story is about Cain and Abel. Cain wanted to be better than Abel, so what did he do? He killed Abel, right? So we see from the very beginning in history that there's this unique desire and that's embedded within us to want to be better than one another. And in our society, the way that plays out through racism.
There was something called the talented 10th, where the black educators wanted to be better than the blacks who were not educated. W.D. Du Bois and all those guys. They wanted to tell blacks how to think, what to do, when to do it, and blah, blah, blah. Were those elitist blacks being racist against those blacks who were not educated?
They weren't being racist, but they did have a desire to be better than one another. Right? And we should never desire to be better than one another. We should desire for our own improvement.
Right.
Right? But our goal should not to be that, hey, I see other people and I want to be better than them.
But my thing is, blacks do it to each other too. You have the light-skinned black who the dark-skinned black would hate. And so they would discriminate against the light-skinned black. So was that racist?
I think that was an example of self-hatred.
But not racist.
It is informed by racism, but it's self-hatred.
But not racist.
It is informed by racism and it's self-hatred.
What does that mean, informed by racism?
So because we live in a society that prioritizes whiteness, right, and white ideology and white people, right, we have a society that says this is what you should be. And so for some people, unfortunately, they can look at that and say that, hey, if you want to rise in this society, I should also ascribe to those same kind of values. And so you can see, because of this racism that undergirds our society, that some people will unfortunately tacitly buy into those ideas.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
You describe yourself as an advocate for boys and men of color. Exactly what do you mean by that?
So as an advocate, what I want to do is to see our boys and men of color, particularly our black boys and men, become more successful in education.
In the high schools and junior high schools around the country now, especially in the urban areas, they are bringing in things like homosexuality, and they are promoting illegal aliens in the public schools, in return pushing the black kids out. Are you trying to prevent that from happening to the black boys in the schools?
My work focuses on better preparing teachers to teach black boys and men. And what I focus on are strategies, tangible strategies that they can use in their classroom to better improve their success.
Right.
Right? And
but
so
to keep those things out, wouldn't that better improve an environment so that the black boys can be taught in the proper way?
The vast majority of teachers are white and women, right? And some of them are absolutely amazing. So this is not to disparage white women, right? But if we think about that, that means that the black boy who's in the classroom is most likely not going to see a teacher who ever looks like him. And that white teacher will be teaching someone who is very different from her. So I just did a presentation as part of my course, Black Minds Matter, where I talked about this question that's part of a federal government survey. And what we find is that when the focal child is a black boy in comparison to a white boy, in kindergarten, he's 60% more likely to be viewed as incapable of learning. That's at the earliest levels of education. I think that's where we should be putting our emphasis is how do we change those perceptions that teachers have.
So is that because the white teachers are perceiving them as being incapable of learning or something else?
It's because the white teachers are perceiving them as being incapable of learning. And it deals with this concept of what we call, it's called ascription of intelligence, right? Where we ascribe certain groups to be academically inferior based upon how we've been taught to believe them. I mean, what you see on television, I mean, if you think about it, think about the popular depictions, unfortunately, of black men on television. They're rappers, they're athletes, they're entertainers, they're gangsters, but rarely do you see a black man on television who is a doctor or a lawyer.
Well, not anymore.
Or doing, right? Well, no, it's still,
they're
it's
all
still
over
that,
TV now like
it's
that.
still that pattern though.
Matter of fact, I'm so sick of seeing it that way, I want to see the rappers and the gangsters. So I want to go back to the question though, if, being an advocate for black men and boys, wouldn't you want to take out the homosexuals, the teaching of homosexuality, abortion, and all that so that the black boys can have a better environment to learn?
I want to focus on the real issues that are at hand.
You're not telling me yes or no.
I'm not telling you yes or no because I think it's a sidestep from the real issues.
You don't think that is an issue?
It's basically saying, okay, we're talking over here about these real issues that are facing our community.
But that is
and let me throw out something over here. I mean, how come then we're not talking about the influence of Trump? But we're talking about racial
you want to
issues.
create a whole environment, a good environment for the black boys to learn, right?
We want to create an environment where they are loved.
Right.
And so, can I give you an example of what that looks like?
If you took out the illegal aliens, you took out the teaching of abortion and the teaching of homosexuality, wouldn't that create or help to create a good environment?
So, are you talking about taking those things out of curriculum to create space?
Them, yeah.
Okay.
Don't teach that. Teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. Don't allow the illegal aliens to overcrowd the classrooms so that the black kids don't feel pushed out.
So undocumented students are not, I don't view them as illegal aliens. I view them as individuals who've come to our country for a better opportunity.
Did they come through the front door or the back?
Did they come to the front door or the back? Well, for many of them, this is their land long before it was ours.
No, the ones that are coming, did they come through the front door or the back?
Well, their country did have this land long before we did.
Did they come through the front door or the back?
Actually, they came through San Diego.
Is that the back door?
I think that's the front door.
So when someone come in through the back door, is that breaking the law?
I think that people get to this country in many different ways.
No,
I think about our people, we were brought here on slave ships.
Not me. I was born here.
Really?
But let me ask.
You were born here? Your parents were born here?
Yes.
Your grandparents were born here?
Yes.
Their great-grandparents were born here?
Yes.
And the people long down the line were all
what
born
happened
here?
after that. But let me ask, if they come through the back door, are they breaking the law?
Are they breaking the law?
To come in across the borders illegally, are they breaking the law?
Well, that assumes that you believe that the law is always a good thing.
No.
So, I'm going to answer your question very directly. I'm going to answer very directly. Are they breaking the law? I would agree that there is a violation of law that is taking place. However, I don't always believe that law is a good thing. And I think there's a lot of examples in our history. We had miscegenation laws that says that black people couldn't marry white people.
No.
We had laws that says that me and you had to drink at a different drinking fountain than your colleague over here.
So
we had laws that put us in chains, right? And said that if we escaped,
I'm not
that they
asking
could kill
about
us.
those laws. Are they breaking the law to come across the borders illegally?
Based upon the current law that's in place and the national law, there is a violation, yes, that is taking place.
I'm sorry?
I said, yes, there is a violation that is taking place.
So they are breaking the law?
Yes,
Oh,
there is
okay.
a law that is being broken,
Okay.
but again, laws aren't necessarily moral.
You created a
Jesus was a immigrant, was he not?
I have no idea what you're talking
He fled to Egypt, right? His family fled to Egypt.
You created a free online public course called Black Minds Matter.
Yes.
And it's a focus on black boys and men in education, as we said. What is a black mind?
Black mind is a black learner, a black student.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
But the mind itself is not black.
Oh, I see where you're going. That's nice. So a black person, their life would be a black life. A black person, their mind would be a black mind.
Why not just say mind and not black mind? Because when you say that,
because we're focusing on a group that's
when you
not
say
been
that
doing
though
well.
to black boys, right away they're going to think that their mind is different than the white person's mind. They're going to think of themselves as a black person with a mind rather than just having a mind.
Well, hopefully when they hear the word or name or phrase black minds, they have a sense of a power that comes from that, because black people are the originators of many of the greatest knowledge that we have around this world.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Think about mathematics. Think about medicine, right?
What about it? Are you saying that blacks created mathematics?
I'm saying that blacks are the originator of many mathematical concepts, of many advances
Like
in
what,
medicine.
for an example?
If you
Other
look-
than Dr. Carson, there is no other black in medicine.
There's no other black.
I'm kidding about
okay, I was gonna say, and I
But-
think Dr. Carson, I think for a long period of time was viewed as a hero for much of the work that he had done,
And he still
and I
is.
think he is still viewed as a hero in the context of his brain, the brain surgery and the developments that he had. But I also think that he's become a heel in our community, unfortunately, because his ideology is far outside what would be considered the mainstream.
That's amazing.
It's sad that he's gone that direction.
Is it wrong to judge?
Yes, absolutely.
So are the blacks wrong for judging Dr. Carson?
No, they have.
Because he is a Republican?
They have discernment about the statements that he is
Blacks
making.
don't have discernment.
Really?
I can think of many things that black people have. Discernment is not one of them.
Okay, so what are some of the positive things we have? You said you can think of many things that we have. What are they?
I can't think of any.
You can't think of any?
And the
A
reason,
president.
the
We did have a
reason-
president.
The reason I can't think, because most black people are so destructive and angry, and they have been used to destroy rather than to build. So they've not set a big example of being good with or about anything. Have you noticed that?
I don't see black people, our people, as being angry. I see us as having righteous indignation and viewing societal ills and wanting to change them.
Amazing.
I think there's a big difference between anger and righteous indignation, don't you?
Give me an example of righteous indignation that black people hold.
Well, I'm going to give you an example of righteous indignation, and then I'll give you an example of what that looks like for black people. An example of righteous indignation is when Jesus went into the temple and he saw the people in there selling items, right, trying to make money off of God. And what did he do? He went through and he kicked them out. So, for example, I think my class is an example of that. We have over 10,000 people who are registered for a course about educating black people. We have over 260 broadcast sites throughout our country. So that's an example of taking and seeing a societal ill and having righteous indignation, a desire, a burning desire to change it and to create a better world.